They started as Disney darlings, smiling wide, singing in hallways, and winning hearts with every wholesome wink. But somewhere along the way, they became something more. Today on Rainbow Spotlight, we're spotlighting 5 former Disney stars who grew up, glowed up, and turned into unexpected gay icons. Whether they came out, leaned into queer-coded fashion, or just gave off serious, soft boy energy, these boys didn't just shake off the mouse. They became role models for an entire generation. They didn't ask to be crowned by the gays, but the gays crowned them anyway. So grab your glitter, turn up the nostalgia, and get ready to meet the Disney boys who are low-key queering Gen Z pop culture, one TikTok thirst trap at a time. Joshua Bassett, the boy who didn't need a label to spark a queer awakening. Joshua Bassett might have started as just another pretty boy on Disney+, but he's become something much more powerful, a symbol of what freedom, softness, and unlabeled queerness can look like in the spotlight. He first stole hearts as Ricky in High School Musical, the series, with his shaggy hair, acoustic guitar, and boy next door charm. But it wasn't just his character who had fans swooning, it was Joshua himself, especially after one interview changed everything. In 2021, while talking about Harry Styles, Joshua casually dropped a comment that made the internet explode. "He's hot. You know, this is also my coming out video, I guess." He smiled, laughed, shrugged it off. But that one line, simple, unfiltered, and completely unbothered, sparked a global conversation. Was he serious? Was it a joke? Did it even matter? Turns out it did, and he wasn't joking. Days later, Joshua followed up with a heartfelt message on Instagram. "Love who you love shamelessly. It's okay to still be figuring out who you are. No labels, no categories, just truth." For Gen Z, it was electric. Joshua wasn't coming out with a press tour or a rainbow flag. He was showing that uncertainty, fluidity, and softness could exist in the spotlight, and that questioning didn't make you weak, it made you real. Since then, his queer-coded style has only amplified the energy. Pearl necklaces, soft crop tops, delicate rings. He blends masculinity and femininity with a quiet confidence that feels intentional. Not performative, not for shock value, just him. And his music? It's raw, emotional, and beautifully vulnerable. Songs like Feel Something and Lifeline echo themes of identity, longing, and healing. There's heartbreak, confusion, hope, and above all, honesty. Joshua Bassett may never label himself, and that's the point. His journey has made space for fans who are still figuring things out, for the kids who feel too straight for this, too gay for that, for those who just want to be seen as themselves. In a world obsessed with clarity, he gave us something better, possibility. Drop a 1 if you think Joshua Bassett is Gen Z's most relatable unlabeled icon. Garrett Clayton, from Teen Beach to Trailblazer. When you think of a classic Disney heartthrob, Garrett Clayton checks every box: charming smile, abs of steel, perfect jawline, and that all-American boy energy that made him an instant fan favorite. In Teen Beach Movie, he played Tanner, the sweet, surf-loving, slightly clueless dreamboat who danced his way into millions of hearts. But behind the bright colors and catchy songs was a very different story, one that Garrett was afraid to tell for years. At the height of his Disney fame, Garrett was living in fear. He was gay, but the world couldn't know. Not yet. Agents warned him that coming out would ruin his career. Casting directors said he'd never play a leading man. Hollywood still clung to the belief that queerness couldn't sell a fairy tale. So Garrett played along. He smiled. He flirted with female co-stars in interviews. He avoided questions. And inside, he was slowly breaking. It wasn't until years later, long after Disney, long after the cameras had stopped rolling, that Garrett finally spoke his truth. In a powerful Instagram post, he came out as gay and introduced the world to his longtime partner, Blake Knight. Quiet, honest, and raw. It was a moment of freedom. And for fans who had followed him since Teen Beach, it was a revelation. But Garrett didn't stop there. He opened up about the trauma of hiding for so long, the pressure, the manipulation, the toll it took on his mental health. He revealed how he was forced to stay closeted to land certain roles and how damaging that silence had been. And in doing so, he gave voice to an entire generation of LGBTQ+ actors who had been told to dim their light to fit the mold. Since coming out, Garrett has redefined what it means to be a leading man. He's starred in queer films like King Cobra, spoken out about gay representation in media, and used his platform to advocate for LGBTQ+ mental health and safe spaces in the industry. And let's not forget the aesthetic glow-up. Post-Disney Garrett is bolder, sexier, and more unapologetically himself than ever. Think sheer shirts, slicked-back hair, and photo shoots that scream queer confidence. He's not trying to fit in anymore. He's setting a new standard. For many fans, Garrett Clayton will always be their Disney crush. But now, he's so much more than that. He's proof that you can come from a brand built on fantasy and still step into a reality that's honest, raw, and powerful. Drop a 3 if Garrett Clayton proved that being real is the hottest thing a prince can be. Milo Manheim, the zombie prince who accidentally became a queer crush. He started off singing in glittering jackets, dancing with werewolves, and saving cheerleaders in ZOMBIES, Disney Channel's colorful, chaotic musical franchise. But somehow, Milo Manheim has grown into something else entirely, a walking, talking TikTok thirst trap, and, intentionally or not, a certified queer-coded heartthrob. From the beginning, Milo had that undeniable it factor. Tall, charismatic, with boy band energy and just enough awkwardness to be charming. But what set him apart wasn't just his Disney charm, it was the way he seemed to lean into ambiguity, to blur the lines, and to do it all with a grin. On screen, his Zed character was bold, emotional, dramatic, a zombie jock who wasn't afraid to sing about his feelings. Off-screen, Milo took it further. Whether it was crop tops at red carpet events, full glam on Halloween, or flirty TikToks with his guy friends, he gave off serious queer-coded energy, even without ever putting a label on it. And Gen Z noticed. Fast, fan edits of Milo with captions like, "Why does he give me gay panic?" or "No one's talking about this," but flooded TikTok. Comments like, "He's so masked but so not straight at the same time," became the norm. For many, he became a safe fantasy, a guy who embraced queerness without having to say a word. Even in interviews, Milo has played with that energy. He talks openly about self-expression, about not being afraid to wear what he wants or act how he feels. He's supportive of LGBTQ+ fans, engages with queer creators, and never once distances himself from the community that's embraced him. And while he's never made a public statement about his sexuality, he hasn't had to. The way he exists, with softness, confidence, and fluidity, is enough to make people feel seen. For a new generation of queer youth, especially those navigating attraction in a spectrum, Milo became a symbol of something rare: freedom without explanation. He also brings something else to the table: fun. Milo doesn't take himself too seriously. He'll make a TikTok doing thirst traps one day and dress as a fairy the next. He's goofy, he's hot, he's completely unpredictable, and that's exactly why fans can't get enough. He may not have a coming out story, but Milo Manheim is still a part of the conversation. And whether he meant to or not, he's queering the Disney legacy just by being unapologetically himself. Drop a 5 if Milo Manheim is your unspoken queer crush of the Disney universe. Joshua Rush, the Disney kid who made queer history at 15. For decades, Disney shied away from openly LGBTQ+ characters. Storylines were carefully filtered. Queer-coded characters were masked in ambiguity. And then came Joshua Rush, just 15 years old, who helped change that forever. Joshua played Cyrus Goodman on Andy Mack, a groundbreaking Disney Channel series that quietly made history. In 2017, Cyrus became the first openly gay character on Disney Channel, and in a scene that made national headlines, he turned to his best friend and said the words many of us wish we could have heard as teens. "I'm gay." No metaphors, no subtle hints, just clarity, courage, and heart. For a Disney show to say it out loud was monumental. And for Joshua, a straight-leaning teen actor at the time, to deliver that line with honesty and care, it changed everything. But the story didn't stop there. 2 years later, in 2019, Joshua Rush came out as bisexual in real life. On Twitter. Casually, boldly, beautifully. First to play an openly gay character on Disney Channel, and now proud to be a part of the LGBTQ+ community IRL, he wrote. The internet exploded with joy, love, and gratitude. For thousands of queer teens, Joshua was more than just a Disney actor. He was the face of possibility. Proof that you could be young, still figuring things out, and still live your truth in front of the world. Even more powerful? Joshua didn't stop at visibility. He used his platform for advocacy, activism, and civic engagement. He's spoken at political events, encouraged young people to vote, and championed queer inclusion in entertainment and government. At an age when most teens are trying to pass exams, Joshua was out here helping rewrite the playbook on what a Disney kid could be. He's also never shied away from talking about mental health, identity, or the pressure of growing up queer in the public eye. He's funny, real, and often pokes fun at how chaotic and beautiful queer youth culture can be. Fashion-wise, he's grown from graphic tees to crop tops and nail polish, leaning into an expressive, fluid style that matches his outlook. And on social media, he engages directly with fans, especially queer teens who are still figuring it out, reminding them they're not alone. Joshua Rush didn't just play a character who changed Disney history, he became part of it. And his journey proves that age doesn't limit authenticity, and representation doesn't have to wait. Drop a 4 if Joshua Rush helped you see yourself in a Disney show for the very first time. Joe Serafini, the gay Disney prince who made history, quietly. Joe Serafini might not be the loudest star on the Disney roster, but he doesn't have to be. With his signature smile, Broadway-trained voice, and quiet grace, Joe is the kind of star who changes the narrative just by existing. He plays Seb in High School Musical, The Series. One of the first openly gay teen characters in a Disney franchise. From the moment he stepped onto screen in glittering vests, singing show tunes with unapologetic flair, Seb became more than just a side character. He became a symbol. And Joe? He became a star. What makes his journey so powerful is how gently revolutionary it is. Joe didn't come out with a viral headline. He didn't need to. His truth was already written into every performance, every glance. Every moment Seb held hands with Carlos on screen, the first openly gay teen couple in Disney history, was a quiet act of rebellion. For Disney, a company long criticized for avoiding LGBTQ+ representation, it was a milestone. And for young queer kids watching at home, it was everything. And it wasn't just acting. Joe is openly gay in real life too. And in a heartwarming twist, his on-screen love interest, Carlos, played by Frankie Rodriguez, is also his real-life partner. That chemistry? 100% authentic. Their relationship has become something of a queer fairy tale for fans. Sweet, real, and refreshingly drama-free. Fans didn't just love the romance, they felt it. For many young LGBTQ+ viewers, Seb and Carlos weren't just characters. They were the first time they saw themselves on a Disney show without the usual stereotypes, jokes, or tragedy. No trauma, no shame, just love, music, and glitter. Off-screen, Joe keeps it real. He's warm on social media, openly talks about self-love, mental health, and what it means to grow up queer in a world that still has a long way to go. He doesn't need shock value or flashy headlines. His existence, his softness, and his truth are enough. He shows up to red carpets in tailored suits, sometimes painted nails, always smiling. He embraces his queerness with pride, but never forgets to be tender. That balance is rare, and that's why fans trust him. Joe's story is not about drama, it's about joy. And that, in itself, is revolutionary. Joe Serafini isn't just the gay Disney prince we never thought we'd get. He's the role model Gen Z needed. Proof that being fully yourself is more than enough to make magic. Drop a 2 if Joe Serafini made you believe Disney could finally get it right. They may have started as Disney's golden boys, but what they've become is far more powerful. In every subtle gesture, every unlabeled moment, and every queer-coded wink, they've reminded us that representation isn't always about statements. Sometimes, it's about presence. These young men didn't need to shout to make an impact. Just by showing up, soft, bold, fluid, free, they gave thousands of queer kids permission to imagine a world where being different is not just accepted, it's celebrated. Because in the end, the real magic Disney gave us wasn't the castles or choreography, it was the possibility that happily ever after could look like us. Which star made you feel seen? Drop the number in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join Rainbow Spotlight for more stories that shimmer with pride.